Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For this video, I want to kind of show you the before and after of one of the main rooms in our home, and that is the kitchen. I think what could scare a lot of home buyers is when you're walking into a house, it's obviously not yours and it's not your aesthetic. It's really hard to envision what you like in someone else's space. And there's no right or wrong. We all have a different sense of decor style. Some of us are more traditional, some of us are more minimalist or farmhouse, whatever it might be. But sometimes it's really hard to see that when you're house shopping. So we actually fell in love with this house right when we walked in the door. However, it was the polar opposite of my style. But that's okay because that was the previous owner's style and what they loved. I was able to see beyond that and envision my aesthetic without us needing to do any kind of structural changes. And that was a thing when we were house shopping. There were other homes that we loved, but we would have had to make a lot of changes, open up spaces or add things. And I didn't really want to have to do that. One of my pet peeves watching like HGTV, obviously it's a show, so things are like, a little more dramatic for obvious reasons, but it drives me crazy when people walk in the door and they're like, oh, I hate this paint. That's such an easy fix and not anything that you need to like tear down a wall for. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through what I envisioned in the previous photos. Again, when we purchased this home, it was a very, very traditional style, and how I transformed it into this light, airy, modern, coastal aesthetic that it has now become. It is a total 180 of a transformation, and it didn't require any real structural changes. So I'm gonna give you some tips along the way. Let me show you what we did. One of the biggest changes we made initially before we walked in was the floors. It was traditional red oak. I'm pretty sure it was just like a natural finish, no actual stain. But I wanted something a little more light and airy. And we wanted to do that before we moved in, just because it's a really big process otherwise if all the furniture is in. So I have a blog post on my blog with exactly what we did to the floors. I'm gonna link that in the description below, but I do wanna call that out because that is a huge change. Simply changing the stain of a floor, it can literally do wonders. The second thing we did was paint. This house was, when we bought it, was darker in paint colors, more beige, green tones, yellow, and I like everything light and bright. So we painted everything white. We did a bright white trim and more of a gray undertone. The color actually of the trim is Benjamin Moore Chantilly lace in a semi-gloss, and then the walls are Benjamin Moore Decorator's White in an eggshell, and that decorator's white color has more of a gray undertone to it, so it almost looks like a very, very pale gray. Simply adjusting the color of the paint made an enormous change. The space, what I loved about this entire space is all the windows, there's skylights, it's very light and bright, that's what I love, and that white paint really just made it pop. So again, paint, you can look beyond paint. If you're house shopping and the paint is simply just not your style, I'm pretty sure one of the rooms here was like a very bright blue, which just isn't my style, but that is an easy fix. It's simply just painting. Again, it's turning someone else's style into your style, and paint is an inexpensive way to do that. One of the things we loved about the kitchen was the setup. Honestly, it was a great setup. We didn't want to change any cabinetry. It was exactly how we would want it. This gorgeous kitchen island we loved the length of it, and again, just the way the cabinets are set up. However, I did want to change the color tone of the cabinets. So I think they were like a traditional walnut or cherry cabinet, and obviously I like everything white and bright. But because we didn't want to actually change the cabinets, all we did was had the doors rebuilt. So you can see the old color of the cabinets inside here. We just had the door faces rebuilt to a more modern shaker style, I think it is called, cabinet, and we painted them white. Down the road, eventually we will replace the cabinets, but this was an easy fix, more cost effective. We had them painted. It's held up fairly okay so far. Sometimes we have to touch up some paint. I mean, that's what it's gonna be like with paint, especially in an area of high use. But honestly, that made a world of difference. We also just switched out all of the door pulls and the drawer pulls and all of that. And we made them soft close as well. So it was a simple fix without having to knock down any cabinets and rebuild and all of that. We also replaced the countertops to a white quartz. And again, structurally, everything is the same. Of course, we did this over a period of time. This is not something that we did immediately coming in. We did it in phases, but it really made a difference. The only really thing we built was a hood above the stove. There were 2 microwaves in this house. The former family had, I'm quite certain, I don't know them personally, but I have a feeling they really loved entertaining because it's the perfect entertaining setup in this house. They had 2 microwaves and we just didn't see the point of keeping 2. We have 1 drawer microwave here in the island, and then we had a hood built above the stove because that's what I liked. We obviously did the backsplash over as well. But again, point being, structurally, nothing changed. It was just tweaking things to more of my aesthetic, utilizing the bones the house already had. Another thing that's super easy to make your aesthetic is any type of fixture or lighting. So I did replace the lights that were here. I'm pretty sure nope, there were 3. So we just replaced them to something more my aesthetic. We did add lights above the sink. My husband is a former electrician, so it was pretty easy for him to do that. We also added new shades. There were a different style of shades here and curtains, I believe, in the eat-in kitchen area. So I just replaced those curtains, and that's really it. We obviously got new chairs. We painted the kitchen island a different color than the cabinets, just for a fun pop of color. I love it. It's like one of my favorite features of the kitchen. But again, nothing structurally is changing. So we did this over a period of time, just replacing things that are more your aesthetic, and again, changing the color of paint makes things literally look like a whole new space without it being an entirely whole new space. We also updated all the appliances in the kitchen, again, over a period of time. So I went with the cafe appliances. I kind of had my eyes on those. We did the white with the gold. I absolutely love it. We also added this spout, this pot filler here. I use it quite a bit. My husband did not think I would, but I do. So, and this is the hood that we had rebuilt. So this was a super easy add when they did the backsplash. And again, the appliances are just switching out the appliances. This is exactly where the old appliances were. Same thing with our fridge. None of that changed. We just simply replaced them as they needed to be replaced. The former owners had a round table here. When we first moved in, I simply just used our other dining table, which was rectangular, but I actually prefer the round. So we switched it to a round table recently. Again, just a world of difference. It makes just updating furniture and making it more of your aesthetic. So this is our primary dining space. We also have a formal dining room. We just don't use it as much as we use this space. Again, replacing light fixtures, super, super easy. Nothing that required, knocking down walls or changing the space or anything. So it really was simple to make it more of my space, but I could see that coming in here when we first looked at the house. So I was able to envision my aesthetic in the space while it was still their aesthetic. And I think that's really important. Just envision paint colors that you like, or maybe again, painting the cabinets or switching out the knobs or switching out the lighting. You don't have to make these huge, huge changes in order to make a huge impact. So again, it's my pet peeve when house hunters, they're like, the paint color, the paint. No, that's an easy fix. It's a super easy fix. If you like this video, leave me a comment below and we'll kind of turn this into a little series and I'll show you how we made aesthetic changes to different rooms in our home without doing anything to the structure. I'll see you guys next time.